Hi.
Hello, once again, future alien archaeologists. Yes, I'm combining them now. This is the Crystal Tomb. I am kcStranger. It occurs to me I'll need to find a more permanent storage medium if I really want this to survive as long as I'm sort of advertising here. I think like my hard drives probably wouldn't last longer than like 10, 15 years. Anyways, um, this week I am joined by four of my splendiferous players. As always, Crystal Tomb is brought to you by Exploit Broadcaster, by Tractor Blend, but this week no longer by my crushing back pain. I'm feeling better. I'm ready to rock the world. So, last time we followed the creation spirits as they first investigated, and let me go ahead and pull up my map. These, oh, whoops, wrong map. That's the old map.
Old map, best
That's the
map.
new map. As they first investigated these towers at the right, call it east of the Mind Flayer city. These were sort of large rune engraved pillars. At the center of them, they found the same sort of altar that they had visited last time. However, it appeared to have been used this time. The creation spirits deduced it was used for some sort of annihilation magic, and that the entire structure was actually meant to channel that. They found evidence of two spells. One that appeared to have like drained the existence of some location in order to perhaps create some new location, and another one which had drained the life of an infant in order to either give birth to something or protect something against decay. So, at any
Okay.
rate, the creation spirits did not much like this place. So, before leaving, Kirill used her creation magic to, I think we finally decided on titanium, to
Yeah.
basically overfill the central chamber with titanium to the point where it got magically shunted away, presumably disrupting the usability of this entire structure. So after that, they went up this way and investigated this building right here. It was about that point that Cenarian's, what's her name, Liriana locator went off, and they realized, okay, probably in this building. Um, did not have visible doors or windows, but no matter. Kirill created a pass wall. They went inside. It appeared to be some sort of utility building, basically. There were lots of pipes that went into the building, carrying the brine that sort of feeds the mind flayer structures and nourishes the mind flayers themselves. Um, Engaged in some wanton destruction as they eventually found a hidden chamber and went down to this room. Um, so last time we had a fight where, once again, we proved that Meteor Swarm does a lot of damage, as many Mind Flayers were killed all at once. There was a little bit of cleanup work to do. This large Mind Flayer, known as an Ulatharid, might have gotten turned into a turtle.
I like
Tortoise.
turtle.
It was a tortoise, technically. Masturbatorium. Fascinating. Yeah, I'm gonna read that one. I normally don't read them, but I did this time.
Casey is.
I don't know what that says about me that that's the one I chose to read. But yeah. So this guy was actually carrying Liriana, so who's now right here, the person that they came to fetch. Um, So, long and short of it is they retrieved her. Never mind the dragon. This is a shadow dragon that Lacidel conjured. Or, no, technically illusion magicked. They did also run across, and just for the benefit of Didja, I will go ahead and make this visible once again. Uh, so, quiz. Curel destroyed this. This is a Mind Flayer ship called a Nautiloid. They had been, the Ulithard had presumably been trying to escape in it. And yeah, and it actually did blink over to the astral plane. Actually, I was very impressed that Radiclus put together that it might be on the astral plane, but yeah, Kirill followed it there, destroyed it, and we're now in the aftermath of the fight as basically folks are gearing up to get out of here. I suppose any final actions as the creation spirits before we hand over the reins and get back to your normal characters?
Is there anything here that
Radio
we
storm.
need?
You've pretty much explored the place. I don't mind telling you.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying, like, is there any items, or is it just is there any loot?
Well, you know what? I will go ahead and allow a roll for general looting. All three creation spirits plus Kane can give me investigation.
Do I have? That is. What?
Also, at the end of last session, I did say that
Intelligence.
Wisdom?
Intelligence. That Scenario would have cast that same spell on what's your name?
Quiz, you can go ahead and I'm gonna take your roll for Scenarian actually. Kane, you're just Kane now.
So you're gonna re-roll it then?
Yeah. Quiz can re-roll it.
What am I rolling?
No.
Investigation.
And I need it from Lassadel as well.
So does my last second shout, does the last session not count?
I am the real Cenarian.
I mean, I was just casting that spell that makes you immune to psychic damage.
Oh, yeah. That still
on the
counts.
squishy people.
That counts.
Those are some real rolls.
Huzzah.
Oh,
wow.
Right.
Look at them rolls.
Let me see here.
Wait, is Kane a little higher than a god
Yes.
on intelligence?
Well, but it's looking for loot, so it actually makes sense. But I'm not
even proficient in that.
Alright, so let me see here.
I'm smarter than the gods.
We are going to... I'll go with this one.
I want to cast spells again, KC.
But no one knows it.
Alright, I need to
Kane doesn't know it.
roll some dice on my end in order to...
For loot?
Yes, I am rolling dice for loot.
Is this in Blu-ray? Oh, this is Blu-ray.
Sorry for the burps, guys. Sorry if anyone who's watching this for the burps.
Okay.
Pokes McGee!
What is this thing? Alright. Oh, shit. Sorry, I'm getting there. I promise. Who's typing, by the way?
The loud-ass keyboard. I'm just kidding.
I mean, I've been known to have a loud-ass keyboard myself.
I suspect that it was... Didja.
Yeah.
It was you?
No, it was Didja.
Okay. That being said, I now have finally deduced what you found. So you give the floor an inspection before you go. You find the mind flayers themselves not to be carrying all that much. However, there are sort of these what's the right word for it? Like I want to say tables, but that's not quite accurate. But let's call it that. At the end of some of the tunnels, like almost looking like some sort of magical control panel or something like that. And piled up near those, you see what appear to have been a few um, valuables and supplies that the mind flayers stashed away. So specifically, you find 10 emeralds worth 1,000 GP each. So 10
Fancy.
emeralds, 1,000 GP. And you also find Lacidel finds a robe. It at
A robe, you say?
Yes, indeed, a robe. At first glance, it appears to be a sort of silver color, but you notice that even as you slightly change the angle with which you look at it, it flashes through a series of colors. So this is a robe of, and I'll allow that Lacidel knows what this is. This is a robe of scintillating colors. So it has 3 charges, regains 1d3 charges daily at dawn. While you wear it, you can use an action and expend a charge to cause it to display a shifting pattern of dazzling hues until the end of your next turn. It sheds light during that time, and during that time, creatures you can see have disadvantage on attack rolls against you. In addition, any creature that's within the bright light that's emitted, which is 30 feet, has to make a DC 15 Wisdom save or become stunned until the effect ends.
Did Kane have the bag of holding?
So
I forget.
can you post that for me?
Yeah.
Was
So
trying to
I'd
note it.
have to type it out or Google search it at the moment.
Uh,
So if you can just mark that you have that, if you need me to get the rules later, I will do so.
I have you can expend a charge to create disadvantage on attack rolls against you, and something 15-foot stun.
Oh, okay. Well, all right. So it's when you expend the charge, it emits bright light in a 30-foot radius, dim light for another 30 feet, and when you activate it, first of all, creatures that can see you have disadvantage on attack rolls against you, and second of all, any creature that's within the bright light, so within 30 feet, has to make a DC 15 Wisdom save or become stunned.
DC 15 Wisdom.
Yeah, but I will jot down a note to type up the exact rules and send you that after the game.
Okay,
It does require attunement, also.
of course.
As sadly many things in life do. Okay.
In life?
In life. I don't remember who had the bag. Is there any objection to it being Kane?
No, I don't think I had it.
All right. So actually, what I'm gonna do, since is just I'll just put.
I have the bag of. Well, I have a bag of hiding. Never mind.
Okay. Shall I just put all
No,
these
wait, I
items?
do have the bag of thing. I'm sorry,
Oh,
I do
you
have
do?
it.
Oh yeah, that's right. It's actually on your character sheet.
Okay, I still
Any
I was like,
aversion to me simply putting these items in the bag for now and letting y'all sort it out later?
That's fine.
yeah, I just want to be like, are you making the gods carry these items back? Like,
Yeah, no. I'll just stick it in the bag and like I said.
hold our loot, demigods, please. Till I can get it back to our bag of holding. I am Kane. My strength is not high.
All right, cool. Well, because they're about to get back to you, so I don't really care about the difference. All right, so Yeah. Anything else before you all leave here?
I don't. Can y'all think of anything else we need to do?
You guys want to destroy more tentacle people?
Well, yeah, unless you want to kill other things. Kane will come back ridiculously over-leveled.
Yeah, right.
Let's go.
Okay. So story-based
Solo
progression.
XP.
Story-based progression. All right. So
No,
I'm gonna go ahead and start narrating again. So
that was a noise.
you all wrap things up, and you talk quietly with Liriana about what's past. Whoops, let me mute Slack. There we go. You talk about what's past with Liriana as you walk back. Let me think. Actually, you wouldn't necessarily know the story from before. So essentially, what you learn is that her group, similar to the ones you've been traveling with, originally descended into the tunnel, the same tunnel you guys have gone down a couple times, just in order to investigate it after it was discovered by the druids in the northwest of Perlin Wood. She indicates that the rest of her group was captured by drow, and that she herself escaped, only to be later captured by the Mind Flayers. She says that she was presumably unconscious for a lot of it, but relates that they did, she was held in a different building for a long time, and she thinks they were studying her or trying to draw out some kind of power from her. And she mentions how she seems to be able to use this now, so referencing the sort of poison-powered punches that she was throwing before. She does ask about about perhaps going after the rest of her companions, but the creation spirits tell her that unfortunately there isn't time for that. And this is when we make our way back to the rest of the party. So you see the creation spirits come walking back from the city. You've heard some things while they've been away, sort of a raging storm and the occasional ground-shaking impact of a meteor. All in all, it hasn't really been that long that they've been away, perhaps half an hour. And although you realize now, it is what feels like to you very much night. You're starting to get kind of tired and in need of a rest. As they approach, you do see the elf Liriana. 3 of you would recognize her. Well, actually, no, never mind. Kane's with them, so the 2 of you who came down here before would recognize her. Quiz, she appears to be sort of young adult for an elf, so maybe 150, 200, something like that. Or actually, wait a minute. I think I know her age because she is... All right, is this written down? Oh, no, I take that back. She's actually rather young, younger than Colleen. So not actually full adulthood even for an elf. So let me think here. Right. So nonetheless, brown hair, rather, how should I put this? Typical features for an elf, which is to say, still pretty attractive, because elves. Yeah, and although she's clearly had a hard time of it recently. Actually, everybody give me perception.
That's a 15. It's a
Fabulous.
reliable talent.
So it is.
We're doing our normal characters, right?
Yep.
Can we pretend that like Kane did all the like catching her up on stuff and the questions and things? Like it is normal Kane way,
You actually did that last time.
but even more.
So Kane, especially having heard her story, you also notice, and actually, Foundland and Quiz, you notice as well, some lines and marks, especially on her forearm.
For what?
Her forearms.
Okay.
Looks like needle marks or things along those lines. Anyways, but yeah, she approaches along with the creation spirits. Kirill stands at the front, looking what? You can't quite tell. She's somewhere in between. At first, you think she might be tired, but then you realize it almost looks more like just ennui. Nevertheless, she straightens up a bit and says, "All right, we got the girl. One more errand before we leave this underground, I think, and we should be good."
One more errand.
Right. I've been thinking about what's happened since we came down here, and I think we do best to pay a visit to your old friend Nistia.
Oh, the one who was the temple priestess before the temporals got to her, and now she's a. Well, I guess she's still technically a temple priestess.
Lyriana sort of looks to the side, confused, and Kirill sort of holds up her hand and says, "Exactly."
Temporals, man.
So, at any rate, as she sort of looks you all over, I know it probably feels a bit late, but up for one more short march?
Yeah.
Very good.
You got much of a choice.
And then
Not
she
really.
looks over at Lyriana and says, "I know you've been through a lot, but if you wouldn't mind just..." And Lyriana shrugs and says, "I can keep up."
Well, the worst comes to worst, so let's become a dragon again.
Lyriana looks at you. And actually, she knows enough at this point that she sort of just furs her eyebrows and looks but doesn't say anything.
Like, knows enough that like she's like, you should probably talk about a different timeline, or knows enough that it's just Kane
Insight?
saying things. Oh, you're talking to me. I
Insight?
just
Roll
realized what
insight.
you said.
Yeah.
I didn't catch it the first time, or I didn't
Nice.
get it immediately the first time.
Okay. More so that she's actually noticed that there's some underlying sense to what you're saying, because
Aha!
she knows enough about what you just said to realize you're not just speaking nonsense. Also, that some rather extraordinary things have been happening, and therefore she'd be well inclined not to dismiss what you're saying just because it doesn't make sense.
I wonder if she thinks I also have godly powers based just because I was with those other three, or at least thought it for like a little bit.
Who knows? You do look rather different than them.
Yeah, I'm taller.
Yes, you are. Although, then again, they're a range of ages, so could be a set of 4. Anyways, all right. So you all leave the city, sort of heading up this northwest track. You know it's only a couple miles to get to the to Indplur, the Kuotoa city. And wait, let me see here. this. I'm going to spend 15 seconds looking for this image if I can't find it. There it is. All right, there we go. So you know it's not too far, and indeed, Kirill doesn't actually use the sort of quasi-teleportation spell. You just walk through the cavern. Anyone looking to ask about anything or do anything while you walk?
Kane's gonna hang back.
Balance
Behind
it. So, we heard some noises.
Who are you saying? Are you just saying that to the
In
general
general,
group, or
to the creation stone
okay?
peoples.
Yep.
Saw some lights.
Cenarian looks up at you and gives like actually a very genuine looking smile, and says, "Yep."
double meteor storm.
Take it went well then. I mean, obviously.
Well, and then he sort of gets pensive for a moment, and then says, "We did what we needed to do." Not that it's entirely done yet. And at this, Lacidel sort of grimaces a bit and says, "We'll tell you about everything in time. Suffice to say, we might be paying for that later, but what we're doing now is important."
I wanted to do some things that I needed to do too.
Lacidel looks over at you, sort of curiously.
That's all he said.
And then he says, "Well, I certainly hope you get the chance."
Save me some next time.
Right. Well, and he looks back. Actually, the Elder Brain did get away, so for all I know, you might run into them again.
Got away, did it?
He shrugs. They can plane shift. All right.
Sounds convenient.
Quite. You continue on your way again, feeling rather tired at this point, until you finally do make your way to the outskirts of the Mind Flayer. Of the Quotoa city. And Lacidel looks back at the group and says, "Want me to just handle this?" Kirill shrugs. Lacidel nods, and he just actually at that starts. Actually, he disappears.
Wait. Handle what?
Kirill says, "We need to expand our party by one before we leave, we think. Perhaps I should explain a little bit. Lacidel was actually the one who had the insight. The others of us weren't with you at the time. But do you remember when you first met Nistia some time ago in a different place?
Yeah.
Do you remember the story that she told you?"
Absolutely not.
Brilliant. Well, allow me to recount.
It's coming back to me. Go on.
Allow me to
Roll from
recount
memory.
in Lacidel's words what it was that Nistia said. She said that when she was a young girl, living at the foot of the Raspa Mountains, her village was attacked by mind flayers. She said that her mother hid her, and that when she awoke, everything was gone, including the other villagers. She moved to Tindos, she joined the Cathedral of Innis, many years passed, and then one month she found that she was cut off from communion with Innis. By the way, Digit, your keyboard is actually really loud. I don't know if there's any way to dampen it, maybe like put it on a towel or something, but anyways. Right. Okay, so she said she prayed and could not reach the goddess. She said she was blocked by a shadow, and that then one evening, the shadow spoke to her. It asked her what troubled her. She answered that Innis was hidden. And the shadow answered, not that. If you could change anything, what would it be? And then Nistia answered that she wished her family could live. And the shadow responded, wish granted. And that after that, she found her family alive. Any of that sound telling?
Kane.
Yeah, we're gonna look at Kane. Kane.
Kane's like 20 feet behind you guys.
Kane. Throw a rock.
Stealth
Yeah,
behind the rocks.
I'll pick a rock and throw it at him.
I stealth.
Okay, Kane rolls stealth. Everyone
I'm
else roll
kidding.
perception.
I don't actually
Okay.
stealth.
All
They
right.
already see me.
All right.
Advantage.
What did the voice sound like?
She didn't say that. My point is, she made a wish to a shadow. Sound familiar?
A little bit.
Right. Well,
But I was discussing making wishes.
Oh,
right. She waves her hand. The
It
point,
just goes to show I'm better than the priestess of Innis.
the point is, we've been hopping timelines. She looks at Kane. Temporals.
Because of temporals.
Yeah. And at this...
I can't get the thumbs up from the, like, How to Train Your Dragon meme.
Like, so at this, Liriana sort of looks at you. You can see, like, gears starting to turn in her mind. But Kirill says, right, so most of the shifts have been centered on you lot. And should we ever need to undo them, that could perhaps somehow be done. However, it appears that there is a much older shift centered on Nistia, and so we thought it might be good to secure her before she ceases to exist. And at this, you actually see basically Nistia, except she's floating a few feet off the ground, sort of slumped over. And she bobs
who
up and
is?
down. Nistia.
Oh.
You see Nistia floating a few feet off the ground, bobbing up and down slightly as she approaches you. Sort of like sprawled over prone.
That's unsettling.
And as you all sort of stand there, Kirill and Cenarian don't seem to think that anything's amiss. And as Nistia draws close, Lacidel flickers into visibility. And you can see that he's actually carrying her, and that Lacidel was simply invisible this entire time. And he says, I got her. We can go. Brilliant. Kirill
Okay,
says.
say anything about Whisper? It's hidden now, but...
Let me check. All right. So first of all, let me.
Sorry for the burps again. I'm very burpy today.
How dare you?
Burps happen. Okay. Yeah. By the way, Kane, just I know it can. I know that sometimes like other people are talking and stuff, but just feel free to call out that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Oh, unless you were trying to keep it secret, which is fair enough. But
Yeah.
oh, I see. I see. That being said, oh wait, that's you. You see.
Where do I get level 13 as an assassin?
You see a whole lot of
Oh.
nothing. Oh, let me see here. Yeah, you see pretty much nothing. You imagine that she had most of her stuff taken away from her by the Mind Flayers.
Okay.
Although, let me see. Oh, wait, yeah. Yep, okay. She does seem to, no. Actually, she wouldn't have that. Okay. All right. So Kirill says, all right, I think we're ready to get going now. So she sort of nods towards just a patch of fungus on the ground. You know the drill. This doesn't stay open very long. So, and actually, she pauses for a moment. Lyriana, I'm about to use a spell on that patch of fungus. Simply walk into it, and you will be able to leave this. I don't know if hellhole is quite the right word, but I imagine you'll be happy to get out of here. Lyriana seems kind of confused, but nods. And then Kirill says, all right, everybody, line up. Here we go.
No more fish people. Yay.
Presuming you all do, she, she sort of makes a tapping motion. You see a little puff of sparks emerge from the patch of fungus, and you all pile in, I presume. And at this point,
Huzzah.
you find yourselves emerging out of a tree planted in a more or less well-tended sort of block of soil in between some stone blocks. And you look around, and you find yourselves in the streets of Citadel.
Hey.
Citadel.
The city that's totally fine. Nothing bad happened to it.
Oh, there's
Ever.
still signs of damage everywhere.
No, nothing happened. Bad happened here.
In fact, there's one pretty obvious. Incidentally, Quizmiligus, since you were not with the group last time we were here, let me just actually let me clear out some pages real quick so that I can actually navigate this effectively.
KC is best navigator. 5 out of 7.
All right, so here is the map. Oh wait, no, not that map. Wrong map. Here is the map. And you are here. So it's the capital of the human territory. And also the largest city. Capital is not always largest city, but it is in this case. All right. So you see actually even one familiar piece of damage, because Fallon, you are standing outside of your grandmother Muriel's house, which had a decent-sized boulder go through one bit of it. And it looks like that's still being repaired, given that it wasn't
Casey, the
all that
map's
long
all
ago.
weird.
What do you mean?
You should be on a image of Citadel at this point.
I'm seeing a map,
Okay.
and it's got a gray arrow, and then a big black blob that somebody colored in, and then a pink thing in the top right.
Yeah, this was a marking somebody made of where the Ice Palace was. This thing Kane just drew to show where Citadel was.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
And
It was also shrunk on my screen and flickering.
Gotcha.
So.
Yeah, and this black
Oh,
blob
man.
is totally not something that I drew for reasons that I'm not going to describe.
Guys, we're fucked.
What's under there?
I think it's the destruction of the universe.
Not
It's
the
gonna
black
keep
hole.
getting
Entered the
bigger.
Underdark.
Ah,
Keep getting bigger.
Undrask.
It's gonna keep getting bigger.
What's that city we never saved? Jordan?
What?
Jordan.
Oh, Jordan.
Jordan. Yeah.
Jordan.
I mean, it's still there.
We helped.
Last
We were
We
like,
left
hey guys, there's demons. And
like last you knew it was infested by demons, but you also did quite a bit to help out with the demon thing, so they can probably take care of it.
Is that where the snake died? No, the snake died later. Never mind.
Yeah, that was in Tindos. All right, so now you're in Citadel. You're outside. Fallon, you recognize that you're outside your grandma Muriel's house. I mean, damaged for sure, but most of the house still seems reasonable. It seems to have been patched over so that it at least provides some protection from the elements. Kirill looks at you all and says, and she shrugs and says, and also, incidentally, I know this picture shows day, but now that you are actually back on the surface, it's pretty clearly like pretty late. Can't exactly be sure what time, but the city is actually fairly quiet, so probably after midnight sometime. Kirill looks over at you, you guys, and says, "We remembered that there was part of your reward for saving the city that you guys never picked up, so we thought we'd take a detour here. Figured it might also be a good place to bed down for the night."
What was the reward?
Coats.
You asked.
Coats! Jackets. Can't get it. What are we going to do with Maxis's jacket?
Oh God!
I don't know. You'll have to
Don't
find out when
anybody.
you presumably visit
Well, give
the
it to
palace.
Quiz. Watch him just be like fucking trench coat.
Well, he's a halfling, right? I mean, it was... It'll be a tent. Who's tired?
I'm sleepy.
Lyriana raises a weary hand.
So I go to knock on the door of the house or gain entry.
Right. So, I'm now forgetting his name, but
The butler?
yeah, I'm forgetting the butler's name.
Jeeves?
I know that it isn't Jeeves.
Alfred Pennyworth?
I think it's Basil or Basil.
That sounds right.
Yeah. So yeah, the halfling like gardener slash cook slash butler. You know, he's the servant of the house. So you knock. You wait a little bit, then you hear some soft footfalls, and the door sort of opens a crack, and then he opens it all the way and says, "Master Fallon, you're back. Welcome."
I don't suppose you have rooms that we could all use. We've just come back from a wild adventure.
He peers around the door and says, yes, indeed. We should be able to take care of you all. It might be a little bit tight, but shouldn't be a problem." He stops and thinks for a moment and says, "Are you looking to bed down right away, or would you like any refreshment?"
We're probably all hungry, if you have it.
Right. He says, "Well, if you're not going straight to bed, then I know the lady of the house would like to meet with you all. Let me go wake her. And please, everyone, feel free to make yourselves comfortable." And he sort of gestures around to sort of a sitting room immediately inside the door. It's like
Quiz doesn't go in.
What?
Quiz is gonna say, I'll be back soon and walk down the street.
Let's see.
Okay. Basil calls after you. I'll watch out for you.
You ruined it because Fallon was going to be like, ask if you two knew each other.
Yes, all halflings know each other. That's how it works.
I know. That was going to be my joke. It's ridiculous.
Okay, so we'll stick with the bulk of the group for the moment, as Quiz sort of wanders out. So let me think. Yeah. So the room it's a moderate sized spot. Those of you who want like a seat on a sofa can probably find one. It's cozy. So you hear Basil disappear down the hall, and a couple minutes later, let me think. Did she? Yeah, okay. An old woman in a nightgown comes walking out. She's like slightly hunched, but and she does have a cane, but she walks fairly confidently,
Blue.
despite the cane, and says, "Fallon, welcome. I'm whatever semblance of an accent that I had for her. I'm totally leaving right now, so forgive my poor old woman. But Fallon, welcome back. I see you've brought some new friends this time."
Yes, and I introduce everyone that's there.
Right. She looks
Introduce the
around.
creation stone.
What happened to the girl who was here with you last time?
Ooh.
I can't remember where she went.
Fallon, you really need to keep better. Actually, go ahead and give me intelligence. If you don't crit fail it, then I'll. You know what? Give me intelligence with advantage.
I'm working on it. Sorry. Time's up.
Yeah. You all interrupted some cultists while you were here. One of them proved to be a relative of Catriel Malankir, and
Oh, that's right.
Anya took her back to Tindas. And that's the last
Okay.
you knew of Anya.
Let's see. She had an errand to run to that really big elf city.
Right. Well, you better go checking in on her, right? Ones like that don't come around often. She winks. And then she turns around to Lyriana and says, "And who might you be, my dear?" Lyriana sort of smiles like a little bit tentatively and says, Lyriana Farrington. And Muriel says, well, my name's Muriel Fenris. Welcome to my humble home. Please, everyone, she sort of steps back, make yourselves at home. But now, she looks down, I do have to ask, says Fallon. Fallon, I thought you were engaged in some fairly rough endeavors. You brought kids with you?
I was waiting.
Fallon says, "Oh, yeah, these children could probably, I don't know, level this city in a matter of seconds. But they're on our side."
Muriel
So,
looks down at them.
That's good.
They all sort of line up and smile sweetly. And then Kirill said, Cenarian says, but we would never do so. We're too polite for that. Well-mannered, really. Fallon taught us great.
Good kids.
Good ancient kids. Old ass kids.
Kane, I did notice your thing, so noted. Although if you want a response, I'm probably just going to do it out loud.
Kane, are you going to try to steal from my grandma's house?
No.
Like, that didn't sound very convincing.
Because it was really
I would never.
Kane has some sense of timing, man. This is not the time to try to steal from your grandmother. If you were to do that, it would have been before we left for the place.
Oh Jesus! Did you already? Probably.
Um,
What's missing that I don't know? All my family heirlooms. Um,
To start, like anything goes to
the one,
grandma.
the last possession my mother or my grandfather had before
Uh,
he died.
all right,
I've
Kane
stolen
told
your
me.
family jewels, Fallon. I've
Kane,
stolen your family jewels.
Kane, here's the response you get. Sound serious. Take care of yourself. We're in Dale's Harbor now. Should we get out of here?
All right, and I can respond in 24 hours.
You can respond at sunrise because that's when the day officially rolls over.
Oh, I can respond at sunrise. Hopefully, nothing. It doesn't get much worse between now and then.
Yeah, and hopefully you remember to respond.
That was
Oh, like
Thule.
Casey.
Chatting up Thule.
What?
You
Never.
chatting up Thule.
Never.
Of course not.
All right. So let me see. Where were we with the main conversation? Right. Cenarian had just mentioned how they were all good little boys and girls. And Muriel sort of looks at them with a keen eye. Yeah. And looks at Fowlin and says, I get the feeling these ones might be taking care of you more than the other way around.
That is accurate.
Pretty sure they did just destroy a whole community of mind flayers
That is also accurate.
She looks
like
down at them.
45 minutes ago.
She looks over at you,
All true statements.
and then she just sort of shakes her head and calls back, Basil, how's the tea and biscuits coming?
They somehow made the sky fall underground.
He
I
says,
don't know how.
almost ready, and she says, right. And then, let me think, bring out the whiskey, too. On it. So a moment later, you all just get some assorted snacks.
Anyone down for a drinking game?
And, hard liquor. She appears to have only had a single bottle brought out, perhaps, anyways. But yeah.
Do I
it's
have
all
like a
laid across
barrel
the
in
center
our
table.
bag?
You do, I think. Oh, wait, no, did you sell it?
We reduced it in size, I think.
Yeah,
Because it was ridiculous.
you sold most of it, I think, and you only have actually, do you have any left? Oh
We have
wait,
some left. Or maybe Max has had it.
yeah, I'm not seeing it in the bag actually.
Whiskey. Why is the rum always gone?
All
Get
right,
it? The reference to that movie.
I get it.
Uh,
All right, so
Like,
let's
Pirates of the Caribbean.
let's pause this scene here and let's jump over to Quiz. So Quiz, you go. Let me go ahead and display the city map for you.
a solo adventure.
Yeah, normally it's only you who does solo
I
adventures.
know, it's so weird being on the other end of this.
Oh wait, no, that's not the one I'm looking for. Where's my Citadel map? There we go.
Had a whole session of shenanigans. Because I got what's the opposite of teleported?
All right. Oh shit, we drew on this map a lot.
Oh yeah, isn't this no wait? Why did we draw on this map?
It's like a floor diagram. I'm
Is
just
this
gonna
where I
delete
killed
it.
that guy?
All right. So, oh yeah, that's right, because it's from that solo session. Okay. So, Quizmiligus, you are currently, and I'll. Oh yeah, you've actually been here before, so you know the city layout roughly. You recognize that you're sort of in this northeast corner, basically in the rich part of town.
All right,
Do you have a general
so-
direction you want to walk?
Quiz does, Didja doesn't. So essentially, with seeing the damage from the demon attacks that they've referenced,
Mhm.
Quiz is going to be concerned for the tavern. He spent quite a bit of time working in here, and he's going to go to find it and see how it is.
Right. Let me. Do I have
Let's
your?
make up all of that right on the spot.
Oh, you made that up. I was just referencing your backstory to make sure I wasn't forgetting something.
No, I mean
Um,
it's in the backstory. We just didn't name anything.
Right. Let me see here. Do I have the thing that you actually sent me? All right, not finding it quickly. I probably do have it, but just that's fine. And incidentally, let's maybe spell out a little bit of this. So you can see I've got the basic neighborhoods labeled. So essentially, the way the city is laid out is there's a large low outer wall, and there's some actual farmland with scattered neighborhoods on the outside of the city. I mean, there's more farmland beyond the wall, but there's also some primo real estate inside the wall, although not necessarily all rich. Inside, there's this large inner square, and you can see it is indeed quite large, called Union Square, and this is sort of the working class neighborhood. There's a little bit of everything here. And then you pass this inner wall and start ascending a little bit. This is like a large rock face that the entire city is sort of burrowed into. So you can see it's like 170 feet up. This is like the rich part of the city where there's art centers, rich homes, the military headquarters, things like that. And then actually the castle is built up on top of the rock. So there's an ascent to get there. So I don't know. So quiz, if you're going towards the tavern where do you work, where do you feel that would be?
Probably down towards the more common area.
Okay.
I always envisioned it as a place where people went after they, commoners went after they finished working for the day.
Okay. So I imagine it might be either here or perhaps in this general area. I don't know. One of those seem good.
I like let's go with Union Square.
Yeah, that is. Well, this entire inner thing is Union Square, although going with that one
Okay.
makes it an awful lot closer, which is convenient in the moment because even at that. Wait, did I really make the scale this big? No, the scale's wrong on this map. Let me see here. Oh, it's off by. I think Roll20 must have done an update that threw some of my measurements off by a factor of 10. So let me see here. I think.
Sounds plausible. I believe him.
Well, because I had this exact problem not long ago. Okay. Now everything should be more reasonable walking distance. Wait, what? It's still doing that.
It's by a factor of 10.
There we go. That's better. Oh, okay. Can I not disable the grid? And oh wait, no, there we go. All right, cool. Got it working. I just undid the setting and then redid it. Okay, so now we're only a mile and a half away. So it's just on the other side of this big wall. Now you would know that you actually need a pass or a scroll of pedigree or something like that in order to cross through this inner gate usually. So you either need somebody to help you out with that or you're going to need to do some shenanigans. Any worries about that before we go?
No, I'll talk my way through.
All right. For what it's worth, you'll have no trouble getting out. So,
Okay.
Quiz doesn't know that I have all this paperwork.
Nope.
So yeah, so you go wandering through the city. I imagine you sort of walk over this way towards the spring, which runs all the way down from the castle into this small little grotto, if you will, inside the city. You walk along it, sort of taking in the sights. The destruction of the city is fairly haphazard. Lots of buildings are standing relatively undamaged. Um, a number of others have like moderate damage, and some of them are seem like a loss. Um, you see signs of sort of like street fighting and perhaps also, you know, demons random and goblins randomly smashing things. Nevertheless, you make your way down to the wall. And actually, as I think about it, you realize that the wall is, again, damaged in a number of places, so that you could probably scrabble over it somewhere if you really needed to, just finding one of the more damaged sections of it. Although the majority of it's still fine. You imagine they'll have it fixed up within a few months. There is definitely a stronger military presence here than you're used to. Nevertheless, nobody gives you too much trouble as you walk out. Again, passage out isn't, they don't pay that close of attention to it. And you make your way to your former workplace. Do you have a name in mind?
So this is the human capital.
Yep. I mean, I have no problem making something up, but I want to give you that chance.
Go ahead.
Okay. Let me see. Random tavern name. You walk up to the Whistling Troll. And let me see here. You find... so it's late, but it's a tavern, and it's still open. You can actually see the lamplight sort of spilling out of sort of a burned patch in the roof of the building. Does appear to have taken some damage, but mostly standing. The sign does currently read the Whistling Roll, but they'll fix that up. Yeah, and you make your way inside. Let me see. Looking around this part of the city, it's a working class tavern. On the surface, there's not too much to set it apart. That being said, you remember what drew you to the spot in the first place, because you know that through the double doors behind the bar is a substantially larger than average kitchen, actually, and that the place is actually run by a couple who take rather more than the usual amount of pride in putting out good quality food and drink. You even remember teaching the tavern keeper one or two things that you knew during your time here.
I'm gonna stroll up to the bar,
Mhm.
find an open seat, and wait to be served.
All right. The place is a little busier than normal. You can you imagine that maybe the folks have been through a lot and are finally starting to relax just a little bit. Let me see here. Okay. A moment later, the service tonight actually is run by someone you recognize quite well. So this is Emil Eastwood, your former employer. He's actually, you can tell that he's actually sweating slightly. He has short blonde hair and also a short-cut beard. Running back and forth, he tosses a drink to somebody and then spots you, slides over in front of you, and says, welcome to the Whistling Troll. My name's Emil. What can I help you with?
What name are you saying, Casey? You cut out.
Emil.
Emil.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Emil is how you're pronouncing that?
Yeah.
And this is the shop owner?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I say, well, I'll take the house special. Good as it normally is, Emil.
He looks down at you and says, "Wait a minute. If it isn't Quizmilligus the Almighty. Welcome
In the
back,
flesh.
Quiz. Yeah, coming right up. When you say the house special, would that be just ale, or what did you have in
Yeah.
mind? Okay,
Just like the most standard, whatever they make the most of.
right. Okay,
What it is particular doesn't matter. Just
yep. So he smiles at you and says, and nods slightly and says, "I'll have that right up." He spins around, and there's a tapped barrel back there. Grabs a glass, washes it out real quick, and pours. It's basically nothing fancy. It's just a really good blonde ale. Um, he turns back around and puts it in front of you and says, "Ha." He looks around at everyone and he sort of shrugs as if to say, "It'll wait." And then he looks at you and says, "Been quite some time since I've seen you around here. I thought it might never happen again. How's life?"
interesting.
Hmm.
Very different than perhaps the last time you saw me.
I see, I see. Well, things be changing all the time. Um,
How are you holding up after all of the attacks? Looks like there's quite a battle here.
yeah. Um, Indeed there was. I was fortunate enough to pull through it. Luckily, Marta, who'd be his wife, and the shop came through okay. Home came through okay. Worst for us was, well, uh, the help caught the worse end of a goblin spear in the battle.
Hmm.
Still working on filling the gap, as you can see. I normally like to hobnob a little more. That being said, what he thinks for a moment, all told, it could have gone a lot worse. Actually, I really have to hand it to the city guard. They were ready. And the attackers did seem to sort of break at one point about, well, maybe about 12 hours into the fighting.
Well, good. I'm glad to see you're all right. When I saw the damage, I thought I'd come here. Spent much time here, and I was quite worried.
He shrugs and says, yeah, I don't think it was too much. There was some demon apparently rampaging down the street near here, and we must have caught a stray fireball or something."
Well, don't let me keep you. It's good to see you, old friend, but you're rather busy and short-handed.
Right, and he glances back and forth. And you notice an impatient-looking customer. He says, "Right, I am." And he looks down at you and shrugs and says, "If I'm being completely selfish, the competition has been a little bit reduced recently." And he winks and goes back to serving people. A moment later, you do see his wife, Marta, coming out of the kitchen with a few plates of food. Um, Fairly basic stuff. Just it appears to be a cooked ham, some bread with a thick piece of butter on it, and what seems to be like grilled carrots, maybe, or excuse me, like steamed carrots. But it all seems pretty high quality as you were used to with this place. And you see her sort of wander around from behind the bar and serve a couple people who are at tables.
Okay, well, as Quiz is kind of drinking, I'm going to take out the Book of Shadows and put it on the counter.
Okay.
Um,
Let me think about this. Are you making any attempt to hide this?
no, I'm just kind of reading my book.
Okay.
Um, Maybe not on the counter. I'm trying to think of like Quiz's height in a way where he can read and write in it effectively.
So I imagine you're kind of on a tall stool.
Yeah.
They'd have some of those for, you know, folks of your stature.
Right.
So like you could just hold it beneath the bar if you wanted.
Sure, I'll do that.
Okay.
And I'm just going to kind of take in the sights. I imagine it's a little bit quieter than when Quiz was on the bar counter telling stories and whatnot, but take in the sights and
So actually, and yeah, I should mention this. There's a nice murmur of conversation here. Actually, the place is relatively full, maybe not over full, but you know, again,
but there's not entertainment. Is the
no,
point.
there is not.
Yeah, that was my point. And just gonna kind of write in the book. Back in the place where all of this started. Interesting how things come full circle.
Okay. Just a second. You, one response sort of flashes back on the page. It says, "Please send Emmeline Marta my love." And then there's sort of a pause, and then you didn't expect this. You see it come up again, and it says, "Did something happen?"
Vaguely write in response many things, but now's not the time. Then I'm going to close the book, finish the ale, ensure to hand a gold piece to Emil,
Mm-hmm.
and leave.
All right.
And that's all I wanted to do.
Okay. Good enough. You start heading. Are you just going back to Muriel's?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Gonna try and head back to the group.
I imagine like what persuasion to sweet talk your way back through the gate.
Oh yeah. You want me to roll that?
Yeah, I mean, assuming that's what you want to do. Like, I don't want to. Okay. Yeah. You
I think I did
know,
it.
you like.
So here's the thing.
Yeah.
This is what I was gonna try.
Yeah.
I was gonna see if they had heard of me, maybe had visited the bar when I worked there,
Yeah.
and introduce myself as Quizmiligus the Almighty and reminisce with them until they let me through. That was kind of my ploy.
Okay. All right. Well, so here's the thing. They hadn't heard of you, but they're pretty sure they had actually after talking to you.
Excellent.
All right.
Excellent.
Yeah. Yeah. So the what? The gate guard, Brayduck Greystone, lets you through the door. Lets you through the wall.
Thank you, good sir.
You're welcome. He sort of shrugs and says, "Interesting last week or so."
I understand. I've had quite the week as well, and I hope to end it with a quiet bit of shut-eye and a good drink.
What more could a man ask for?
Not much, and I turn and walk away.
Yeah. Incidentally, I'm just like inserting this random guard as many places as I can. This is somebody who was named earlier on in the campaign. All right. So you make your way back through Capitol Hill to Muriel's store. You knock on it, and actually, let's go back to everybody else. so we're hopping back in time a little bit as well. You make yourselves comfortable, start to settle in, have a little something to eat, and finally the toll of the day sort of starts to creep up on you. Anyone looking to do or say anything before you sort of bunk down for the night?
Nope. Kane
Nope.
goes like straight to bed. Like he goes, finds a place away from everyone else and sleeps.
Salt de Dome.
All right.
57.
By the way, I just saw the animal comments. That's amazing.
I liked my warhorse one the best, but
Oh gosh. All right. Yeah. You you step out back. There's a little garden back there, and you light up and just sort of, look down the city street as you do. You feel yourself floating up the rock wall of the city peacefully. Finally, you find yourself sitting indeed on Pact Keeper's Rock, nearly 200 feet above the rest of the city, looking down on it. You sweep your gaze left towards the Tower of Innis, still standing tall on the horizon, but with a disquieting note. You sweep your eyes right toward Perlin Wood, and then a vague disquiet settles over you as you realize that part of it is missing.
what was it? What wood?
Perlin Wood. So that's the woods in the Elven territory. It's the
The one
place
you had blacked out
blacked out.
on your map?
Oh, yeah. You notice that piece that's blacked out. You notice that it's missing. But you're
God.
altogether too content to worry about that overly for now. You sweep your gaze back towards the city, and you watch as it ripples and glimmers beneath you. And you realize that, well, there are still some messes that need to be sorted out. But when everything is settled, you might have actually found a place. And you write out the rest of your experience, if you want.
Cool.
Incidentally, I might have played it up a little bit, but like all of this was intended before you like named Gmork what you did and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It just makes it all the better for me.
Sorry, the nothing is consuming everything, and so we're. Is there going to be a giant rock creature that tried to save his snail racing friend?
These two strong hands.
Big, strong hands. They look strong, don't they? Sorry. Like the best part of the movie.
It's certainly memorable. All right. So yeah. So you all sort of pack in for the evening. Quiz, you arrive back sort of after everyone else has gone to sleep, with the exception of Basil, who you can still hear. Well, actually, so you knock on the door, and he lets you in. He appears to have still been cleaning up some things in the kitchen.
Secret halfling handshake.
Something like that. and the three creation spirits are just seated on a few of the sofas in the living room, waiting.
Like really creepily.
However you want to imagine it.
I imagine
I
some
join
creepy
them.
ass shit.
Do they not sleep?
Why would they sleep?
Do they not go back into the rocks?
So after letting you in, Basil says, I have a room made up for you down the hallway, second door to the left.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Just let me know if there's anything else I can get for you.
I'll take a nice ale. And I'll be in here, and I point to the room where the creation spirits are, and I join them.
Says, very well. He sort of searches around for a moment and says, this should do. And you, let me think, what kind of bottling technology would they have? You know what? Yeah, you hear. In fact, I don't know. I never see beer with corks, so I don't even know if that's done. Actually, does anyone know if that's done? Anyway, I'll just roll
I
with
feel
it.
like I've seen Karnas open one of those before.
Okay. You hear
I don't know.
you hear a cork pop, and he comes out a moment later with an ale and hands it to you. It's good stuff. It seems to be spiced a little bit.
Excellent.
Um,
Yeah, I join the creation spirits on the couch.
all right. As you sit down, they don't give a whole lot of a reaction, although Lacidel sort of gives you a little wave and says, "Welcome back, Quiz."
I nod. So what are you three up to this evening? No sleep for you three?
Lacidel again responds, "No rest for the weary, I think." He looks around and says, "We might head off in a manner of speaking in a bit, but for now we were just enjoying taking in the world. Not something we do very often. Not something I can remember having done for a very long time."
Let me ask you three something. I was sort of thrown into this group with those three, and it's curious. I wonder how I fit into all this. I was promised information about something, and I was wondering if the three of you knew why I was pointed in this direction. None of this really has anything to do with me. If the world is destroyed, it's destroyed as far as I'm concerned. But why was I put on this quest?
They look at each other a little bit. Give me insight.
Insight?
Mm-hmm. Okay. They... Kirill and Cenarian are sort of hard to read. Cenarian because he just sort of has this distant air about him, and Kirill because her apparent mood mostly just vacillates between being sort of bored and tired and being like very animated and angry, and it seems like that's just something she turns on and off. Lacidel is the one who much more seems to respond emotionally to what's going on around him, and you catch a glimmer of recognition, or like something has occurred to him or something like that with what you just said. And as he looks up at you and sort of you exchange glances, and he's like, "Oh, right." He sort of pauses, catches his breath for a moment, and then says, I should tell you. This is a bit of conjecture because, well, he looks at the other two. 3 of us, powerful as though we may be, are not the most powerful beings in the universe. And I think that I was originally given to Colleen to aid her in the very task on which they're now set. He pauses for a moment and thinks. The gods are extremely powerful, yes? If they wanted to royally screw over the world for each other, they could easily do so, yes?
Sure.
They limit themselves intentionally. I don't know that they really have much choice in the matter. It's more part of their nature. That they can only exert their full power under specific circumstances and if specific conditions are met. And if those conditions aren't met, then they have to work through surrogates. They have to work through favors and followers and those sorts of things. Well, I think Innes in particular somehow realized that something was happening and lined up assistance for certain individuals. And you can see, like, he's actually, these aren't like completely formed thoughts. It's pretty clear. Like, he's puzzling this out along with everyone else to some extent. You sort of get the feeling. And he says, the individuals that you're traveling with have caused changes in the line of our world. That is, events follow a certain sequence. And usually, if the players are the same and their motivations are the same, then the outcome is likely to be fairly similar, even if the details differ. But there are certain bifurcations where one decision is made or another, and the world can become very different for that. The creatures that we're struggling against were, well, I'm pretty sure they were influencing those forks in the road through something that's special about your friends. And I think he looks at you and says, during the last several months, have you had any experiences, more experiences than normal, where he shrugs, you remember something one way and everyone else seems to remember it differently? And actually, at this point, and I didn't put any of this in your backstory because it was trivial, but thinking back, you remember small things, such as you remember somebody who traveled through the town you were in, and nobody else seems to remember them, that sort of thing.
Oh, okay. You mean sort of like deja vu, like I've met someone before, but everyone claims we haven't.
Exactly. He says,
Yeah.
I think there are some of you who remember the transition when we move from one sequence of events to another. Your friends are clearly part of that. And my guess, if there was some sort of aid lined up for you, and he says, and I think the common thread in all of this as well, is that the goddess seems to have pulled some strings behind the scenes to give some of you more help than usual mortals would have in order to equip you to accomplish what she wants you to accomplish. He shrugs. I don't know. Is any of this ringing true?
Quiz takes a long sip of his beer and looks at Lacidel. Things are starting to line up now with that information.
He sort of sighs and leans back and he says, good, because to be honest, even I was guessing a little bit. At any rate, I think you can maybe guess that I'm Colleen's help. So Innes may have done it more or less directly in different cases. I've gathered that Fallon's help might be rather the more direct sort of contractual arrangement, if you will. But yes, I think the strings she's been pulling are, well, bearing some fruit here anyway, in that you all are on the mission that you are.
Interesting. Well, I should head off to bed. Unlike you all, I actually need to sleep.
Right?
Thank you for your time.
Absolutely.
Leave the glass on the table and walk to the room I was directed to.
Okay. Yeah, so you all pass an evening in Citadel. You awake to the warmth of sunlight, the distant singing of birds, and the smell of fresh bread, fruit, and sausages. Incidentally, Colleen, you don't have to sleep as long as everyone else. So if you want to stick 2 hours onto a spell in the middle of all this, definitely feel free to do that.
I should do that. What am I working on? I am working on confusion. So I'll put that to 4 hours.
Brilliant. I imagine you still probably make your way out to the common area first. You see Lyriana there. And actually, as you walk out, Lyriana is walking in, so she must have popped outside for something. The three creation spirits, and you realize you actually don't see either Muriel or Basil. And you look down and you actually see all three of the creation spirits and wearing aprons. And you look up and actually see a somewhat elaborate breakfast. So, there are proper omelets. So with some bacon, some cheese, and peppers, apparently. There appear to be pancakes. There are the sausages and sort of a rather neatly arranged fruit bowl as well. There's coffee and what appears to be apple juice. Let me see. So Kirill is sort of back sitting by a table, sort of leaned up against the wall. Lacidel and Cenarian are actually standing sort of like almost lined up. And Lacidel looks up at you and says, "Good morning, Colleen. Good to see you up and at 'em."
Good morning to you. You didn't feel like sleeping?
He shrugs and says, Last time I tried it lasted rather longer than I would have liked.
I suppose that's true. So what's with the occasions?
He looks over at Cenarian, and then Kirill says from the, further back in the room, "We have lots of time to think about this sort of thing and not much time to do it."
Think about food.
She shrugs. "Cooking. You know." She looks at the others. "We don't really eat very often."
Well, I'm sure it's amazing. Whatever you've made here, it looks very good.
Uh-huh. Her mouth is now full.
Very unexpected. Very.
And she nods her head in the general direction of Liriana and says, "Also, should really take care of that at some point."
And how do you propose we do that? Is it still the same method?
"Yup, I think the ring's in the bag." At this point, the rest of you stumble out and see this scene. I mean, really, you wouldn't all come out at exactly the same time, but sure. You all randomly come out at around the same time, and you see the elaborate breakfast set out.
Is this the chromatic ring?
Yes, that's the word.
Okay.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning, Quizmilius.
Kane's gonna try to sneak some breakfast without anyone seeing him.
Okay, interesting. It must just be on principle that you have to try to do everything stealthily.
I mean, Kane wants to
Hashtag
avoid
roguelife.
interaction with party. That moment is awkward.
Okay, fair enough.
I used my hood.
You know, I'm just gonna roll with this. Like, you don't see Kane. You just see less food than was there before, and you know that Kane is awake.
Clearly, Kane's been through. Don't know how I missed him because I've been here the whole time, but that's fine.
He's a slippery one.
Speaking of slippery ones, where were you last night?
Oh, I had an old friend I went to see. When I saw the damage, I thought I'd go check up on him and his wife. They're doing well. They run a tavern just outside the city walls.
Oh, wonderful. You'll have to take us sometime.
Oh, it's a wonderful place. I spent much time there. I worked there for a short time. It was some of the best years, honestly.
Worked at a tavern.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine.
There are many things you don't know about me, Kali.
Well, the only life for me is that of an explorer. Well, I would say an adventurer at this point, but I want to see the world, and I could never be in a bar.
Can't hold your liquor.
That too.
Not there.
Kane says from the darkness.
If Kane was there, you could imagine that he would have said that.
At this point, you hear some shuffling, and then a door opens, and Muriel Fenris emerges from the back room. She makes her way into the kitchen. She looks up and she says, "Ah, decent spread." She thinks for a moment. "I'm pretty sure my gardener didn't make it." So she looks around at all of you. She says, "And I'm pretty sure it wasn't Fowlin. So it must be the three wearing the aprons. How'd I guess?"
astounding.
Your skills of perception are unmatched, milady.
Quite. She reaches out and just like picks up one of the sausages. Anyways, I'm just acknowledging, but then moving on, and pops the whole thing in her mouth, chews, swallows. Brilliant. You three can stay. She loads up a plate and sort of wanders over to the table, actually sitting right next to Kirill, and then says, "So, have you all decided what you'll be doing?" She looks around and says, "I don't imagine you're planning to stay too long."
Well, we should probably do that whole ritual thing, but not sure where we go from there.
It takes a beat, but Lyriana notices that none of the rest of you seem to be reacting, well, except maybe Quizmiligus, seem to be displaying any confusion about what ritual means. And then she says, "Ritual?"
Right.
Rowland.
um, well, milady, you have a dragon spirit inside of you, and it's a painless thing, I believe. Hasn't happened to me, but a friend of mine, and just gonna go ahead and get that.
Hey, out of character, didn't you go into like a coma?
No.
Well, the last time that you did this to someone, they were unconscious afterwards.
For how long?
You don't know.
Cool. All right, continue. I can double checking the lies of Fallon.
They're probably fine now. It was what was her name?
Probably fine.
Yeah. Why am I not remember? Oh, it was Moira Steeltree. Like, you could even go check on her in the castle when you pick up your coats.
Oh, Moira.
Yeah. Okay. So at this, Lyriana sort of looks at you and says, "This will show just how weird my life has been recently, but I believe you. So, assuming that I have the spirit of a dragon in me, why exactly?" She frowns a little bit and then sort of shrugs. "Why does it need to come out?"
That's an excellent question.
I can tell you what kind of dragon.
She looks at you and says, "Well, I've never had a man tell me what sort of dragon was in me before."
A green one. Big green one.
Sorry. All right, I'm encouraging this. But she looks at you and says, "It would make sense, I guess. I given well," and she says, "What happened when I punched that creature back in the basement of the Mind Flayer City?" She looks back at you and says, "Okay, so I have a big green dragon spirit in me." Her eyes go left and right. "It needs to come out?"
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you leave it, all right, it's just you could turn into a dragon.
If you leave it, we might need you to come with us. But I never heard that it has to come out exactly.
We're collecting them for a purpose.
She looks at you and says, "Uh-huh."
Do you know who Innes is?
She nods. Yes. Yes, I've heard
She,
of Innis.
well, the last time we talked, she said we needed to do that.
Right. Roll persuasion.
It's true, though.
It is true. That's why I'm not telling you to roll deception. Okay.
I assist him.
Sure.
I mean, I guess he's already rolled, so it doesn't
You've
matter.
been talking to. Go ahead and roll persuasion.
I'm generally okay at these
I'll
things.
consider the results of your roll alongside that. Okay. She looks at the two of you and says, and she sort of closes her eyes for a moment and says, "Is there something going on that I don't understand that you don't want to bother explaining to me, but that would be greatly helped if I just went along with what you're saying?"
Yes, I've been
Well,
trying to get them to explain it to me from.
I'm pretty sure I said what it was.
I don't mind explaining anything, but
You're both elves, right? Is Lyriana an
Yeah,
elf?
she's an elf. And she says,
Okay. Elf to elf.
she looks over at Colleen and just her eyebrows pop up for a moment, but then she goes back to serious face and says, okay. Um, honestly, considering how many, and she thinks about it for a moment, considering how much unpleasantness I've been through lately, and how weird this all is, and hoping against hope that it might just all pass if I go along with you all. Sure. Sure. Can we maybe go out back to the garden for whatever it is you want to do?
In full view of the public, yes. Do it.
that's a private garden. But
I'm not
that's
there.
fine.
Kane is nearby, but he's not there.
I mean, it's walled. It's like low walled. It's like semi-private.
You're walled.
Thank you. All right.
You're well. Yeah.
Okay. So I guess we're doing this then.
Did
So
we need multiple people to do this, so it's just one person?
you only need one person.
Okay.
Somebody needs to lead the effort.
But did Kane help last time?
No, I think it was primarily who led it last time. Was it Aaron? I want to say it was Aaron.
So like, it wasn't like a group effort, right?
Yeah,
It's
no,
just
you
one
were
guy.
just all there for like moral support.
Okay.
Um,
Kane has support from an unseen location.
yeah. All right. So, who wants to try and make this thing happen?
I
I'm
can
definitely
try.
gonna watch.
Who's gonna reach?
All right.
Definitely gonna
Elf
watch.
So,
pull out a
you reach. I think it was in the bag. I kind of forget though. But you take out
Ooh.
the.
I'm gonna use my expert bedside manner to keep her calm and just relaxed during the process.
Yes. He learned it while he lived in the woods.
You know what? Give me another persuasion check.
I just have confidence in things I know I'm or I should know better on.
It's gonna go great.
Okay.
Oh, great.
Yeah, you help. Just generic. Like actually, you take a moment, you serious up just a little bit, and you sort of help arrange and settle things. While Colleen goes through the process of pulling out this ring that she inherited, in an odd chain originally from Aaronin. After a moment, you realize that, you suppose you have to put the thing on. And as you do, where's my thing? There's my thing. You quickly see standing maybe 4 feet from you sort of like leaning on one leg, tapping the other foot, and smirking. The same creature that the others before you also saw. Um, so, I mean, again, she looks basically like a part dragon, part devil, pretty attractive woman. She has diminutive horns that curl from her head. Her hands bend into claws. She has a very confident posture. And as you watch, her hair has this sort of flame-like billowing to it, and you watch as her eyes glide through the colors of the rainbow. And she says, "Ah, finally, another victim decides to put the ring on."
A victim, you say?
Another victim.
Ah,
Colleen's like, ooh.
she raises her
Oh,
hand
tentacle.
and waves it dismissively. And she says, "I think I can probably afford to go easier on you than the others. Just, try to be a little bit less dense than that Aranin fellow. Got it?"
I don't know what to say because Colleen would not say what I want to say, and I don't have words.
She watches as you stammer for a moment and then just says, "Look, if you ever need moral support, just put the ring on. And in the meantime, just make sure you track down those dragon spirits, okay? That's kind of my whole MO in existing."
Well, on the case this time.
Brilliant. She looks over at Lyriana, whom Fallon is tending to, and says, "Well, if you just wander over there, then, well, it'll take some effort on your part, but I can guide things, and
Just mosey on over.
you'll know what to do."
I innately trust her.
All right.
I'll wander over.
I wonder why Colleen trusts her.
You wander over, and as she does, the rest of you see that this ring that Colleen is wearing, which is, um, you know, a lot of magical rings are at least like slightly understated. This one is not understated. It is it is fairly large. It is inlaid with 6 different gems in a hexagonal shape: ruby, garnet, citrine, emerald, sapphire, amethyst, making a perfect little rainbow with a big diamond in the center. It has
A ruby, you say?
it has a ruby. It has engravings around the side, and as Colleen steps forward, it glows, initially kaleidoscoping through all the colors of the rainbow, but finally settling on sort of a pale, glowing green color, as it focuses almost like a spotlight on Lyriana. As this happens, Lyriana starts to say something, and then her eyes momentarily get a bit wide and she slumps back. Fallon, you catch her. And at this moment, Colleen, you become aware of the dragon spirit as it starts to reach out of the room. I mean, out of the room, out of, well, Lyriana, actually. You see sort of a claw come forward. You hear a huff, and this pale, poisonous fume sort of starts pushing back against the the light that's emitted by your ring. You briefly sort of glance up, and you see this spirit with whom you just talked, sort of walking a slow pace around the outside of the loose ring between you and Fallon. She appears to be chanting somehow. And then your eyes are drawn straight back to the dragon as it draws you into a good old-fashioned battle of wills. So, I need you to make, first of all, a... Oh, wait. Okay, there we go. Actually, I need to open my book and get some stats real quick. So...
Lean has good willpower, right?
You would think, but
I think you at least have proficiency on the wisdom save that you're about to have to make.
I do, but it's not great.
All right.
What's that wisdom save?
See, her base stat is not great in this particular one. So, I first of all,
Shit.
you and the dragon are both going to make wisdom saves against each other. So,
I believe in the part of the dice.
so go ahead and give me a wisdom save. Here's the dragons.
You got this, Colleen. Oh shit.
Well, he did roll a 19.
Oh, that's a pretty good bonus. What are you worried about?
All right. So you both actually succeed on the first round. So you're just locked in this struggle still. It's a stalemate so far. Go ahead and roll again. And remind me your DC.
My spell save DC?
Yep.
17.
Okay. You remain locked in this struggle. You can feel sort of the tension mounting as this creature is trying to claw its way free, and you are simply you don't quite, like, you're not like moving a muscle or anything. You're just willing it to, and you realize now, sort of be collected by this ring that you're holding, and somehow that does things. Go ahead and roll again.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
Oh, hell yeah.
All right, so let me make note of this.
Colleen, willful as fuck.
All right, so
Apparently.
so in this time, you sense it sort of slip in its resolve, and you almost imagine yourself sort of grasping it and dragging it out, and you feel it sort of getting pulled a little bit closer to you. Go ahead and roll again.
You dominate this
Oh
dragon,
boy,
Colleen.
here comes the crit fail.
Nah, don't jinx yourself. Dominate.
Oh, yeah.
Dominate this dragon, Colleen.
All right, you said you were at 17 again? I'm forgetting.
Yeah.
Okay. Sort of just holding steady. You're still at this point. You have the slight upper hand, but not gaining any ground yet. Go and
Oh,
roll
the
again.
net 20 does it do anything?
No, it doesn't.
Well, we're at advantage in the
unfortunately,
next
this
roll.
case.
Iron advantage?
No.
Can I persuade you, Casey?
No.
Never mind, Colleen, don't need it.
All right. Yeah. You tighten your grasp, and like you sort of flex a little bit, even physically, as you sense yourself getting closer to the prize. Go ahead and roll again.
Oh, Jesus.
Yo, where's the Omega at? Hell
Holy
yeah.
Man, you
Fuck yeah, Colleen. Let's go.
you didn't. Okay, you rolled 115, and everything else has been 23 or higher. Yeah. You feel your will closing in around the dragon's spirit as if it were like a cage or a vice. You feel yourself grab hold of it, you pull, and you draw it into the ring. The emerald on the ring glows moderately as Kalea, who's been walking around the outside, you see her sort of wink. She blows you a kiss, and then she vanishes into a swirling cloud of smoke. And you are back in the garden. And Fowlin, Liriana slumps unconscious in your arms.
Mr. Omega. Making all the girls swoon.
And I say, good job. I hope.
Well, that was easier than I thought.
That was interesting.
I'm stronger than a dragon.
You know, I
Spirit.
slayed a dragon once.
Is that so?
Kane rolls his eyes from his location.
He stands very proudly.
Do you have any trophies?
Oh Lord.
Not on me, but I have them in a safe place.
They were at his girlfriend's house in Canada.
They're at his girlfriend's house outside of Eingrun.
Well, I'm sure it's beautiful. I have full faith in your abilities.
At this point, Lacidel...
Well, sorry.
No, please.
Confounds it. I killed my mom.
He did. We were there. That happened.
In a glorious fashion.
And Quiz sort of nods. Yeah, you'll have that sometimes, I suppose.
I'm just saying, I win.
At this point, Lacidel wanders over towards Liriana's side, and he sort of like crouches down and looks her over for a moment. Then he looks up at Muriel and says, "Do you have somewhere that we can put her?" Or actually, he probably, I guess, actually shouts back towards the house because she wouldn't have come out with you. He says, "Muriel, what? Do you have somewhere that we can put Liriana?"
The broom closet.
She thinks for a moment. "I suppose we can just put her back in one of the beds?" He says, "That'd be great." He looks at you all and says, "She'll be fine," and he looks down. "Somewhere between 8 and 24 hours.
That's not so bad.
I guess I'll carry her to a bed.
Found the lady killer.
Someone's got to be.
Pretty sure it was Max's for a minute there.
What ladies? Was he killing?
Colleen specifically.
Oh.
All right. So you all sort of tend to Liriana, and then Lacidel looks over at you all and says, "And we should..." And at this moment, he sort of cuts off for a moment. I want everybody to give me perception.
Die. Ow. Foot. Haha.
Okay.
20.
You all hear him sort of hiss and draw in his breath for a moment. Kane and Fowlin, and Colleen actually, because this is vision based. He flickers for a moment. It passes quickly, and then he says, "Right. We should go get your coats."
Oh yes, can't forget the coats. It's very, very important.
Wait, why did
What was that?
What was what?
you flickered, bro? Kane just kind of comes out of whatever hiding spot you deem sensible.
All right.
Kane.
Crawls from under a table. Crawls from under a table.
Crawls from under a table. I'll allow it.
Rolls. Does a forward tumble out from behind a nightstand.
All right, you know what? I'm gonna commission like 3 more pieces of art of just everyone in the group, but just like not include Kane because he's hiding.
Well,
That's how you
that
save
should be
on
the
your-
joke. Kane, your art's here. Where am I? Exactly.
I would understand.
Lols. Okay.
Why did
So
you were flickering, bro?
anyways, yeah, he says, I'll explain to you later.
Also, why do y'all care about our jackets?
Kirill shrugs and smiles and says, "You weren't there when they actually asked for the jackets, were you, Kane?"
No.
"Right. Let's go get them."
I believe Max has specifically ordered yours, Kane. I'm
What do you call it?
deflecting blame.
Can I insight check
Who are you insight checking?
everyone?
Paranoia.
Roll an
gonna say,
insight check.
Can I
This-
cast
this-
paranoia?
This family dynamic is
Oh
not
damn
working
it!
so
So
good.
close.
I mean,
It would have been great.
you're definitely... Something's up. Like, Kirill seems awfully keen on getting your coats.
Can
Fallon's
you
being
just
kind of weird about it.
can you just see that we're all really excited about the coats?
Yeah,
That's
yeah. They're all... everyone
All right, let's
seems
go get
weirdly
our
excited about this. All right.
out of game. I forgot what it's supposed to look like.
Yeah.
I'm sure Casey has some wonderful art or something. Fair.
I have notes. I have notes that I preserved on what you guys
Can you
asked
get the
for
artist to
coats.
do it?
so like pink
I'll
and tan
pitch in for
camo.
commission if
It's
need be.
something.
Yeah, no, unfortunately, I don't just have a personal artist who I can tell to do whatever I want. So we're not quite to that.
That's why I
level.
said I'll pitch in for commission.
All right. So you all leave the home of Muriel Fenris, having recently bestowed upon her an unconscious
Wait,
elf.
did she have a small dog
Not that I remember.
who was pink, red, or purple and was very cowardly?
And you head towards the sort of Castle Hill, if you will, or of Citadel to collect the spoils for the errand that you ran there before. And that is where we leave off for tonight.
Yeah, I knew the name was sounded familiar. It just clicked. Why are they on fire?